Oh, fantastic. All right. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at in the country. It could even be morning. So we're glad to have you join us today for coffeewithjeremy.tv. As you know, we do weekly episodes to talk about the collaborative work and the strategic planning or the collaborative planning work that S&G Endeavors does. And we're excited today to be taking Coffee with Jeremy on the road to Hastings, Nebraska, where we just got through with the Healthy Hastings Summit. And Sherry and Brooke are both here today and played different roles in today's summit, and we're so glad that both of you are able to join us for today and to talk about your experiences. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Why don't we actually just start really quick by just letting you get, because we did this on the fly, we don't really know who you are. So let's just quickly take a step back and talk to us about how you were connected to today's summit. We'll start with you, Brooke.
Okay, I'm from the health department here in Hastings, and so we serve the district here, 4 different counties, and my role specifically was more of behind the scenes logistics, and so I did a lot with the registration and getting the room ready, and just helped Jeremy out with assisted him with his facilitation things that he needed. So
absolutely. And one of the things that we have talked about in this particular project is there is a state component to it. There's also a local component to it, and Brooke is the main contact for the local health department, which is acting as a conduit to making this happen and bringing the local community and the state together, kind of creating that bridge. You've been doing that really well in Hastings and Superior in work that we've done there. So awesome to have you on. And Sherry, we totally convinced Sherry to stay after and talk with us today. So what brought you to the summit? Why were you here today?
Well, I work at Central Community College, and I live in Hastings, and I am very interested in our sustainability initiatives here at the college, but also about I'm interested in our community and the activities that we have and our accessibility to programs and healthy food.
Okay. And the Healthy Hastings Summit is really unique in the way that it has approached its planning process. A lot of our other work with the Nebraska Walkable Communities Project has been really geared around walking, biking, and other forms of transportation. Hastings decided to really make that umbrella a little wider and look at how can we increase overall health in Hastings. And so we're really excited to facilitate that. So we had the summit. Now, Brooke, we're going to start with you. And one of the questions that I'm going to ask you, this was not the first day that we started the conversation, right? Like this has been in the making for a while?
yes.
Yeah. When did we start?
We actually started back in November. Well, actually a little bit probably before that. We actually had our design team meeting in November to decide, when we're going to host the summit, how we're going to invite people, what are the topics that we'd like to see done. And that was all with Healthy Hastings. And Healthy Hastings is a coalition here in Hastings that involves a variety of different entities that are all focused around health of Hastings. And so it's a very unique group and a very active group, and they thought that this would be a next step for them to see what the community wants and what the community needs. They have been very active in Share Our Streets and some of the trails that are going up in Hastings, but they just wanted to see what's next, and they thought this was a great avenue. So we started back in November with the design team meeting together for our half a day.
I think it was half a day. Yeah, it was 12:30 to 4:30.
Yeah, so about a half a day, and then from there we met monthly, and then we had our subcommittees, and that brings us to April.
Excellent.
So,
yep, and we talked about design teams about a month ago, so make sure if you really want to know more about how the design team is instrumental in this process that you check out coffeewithjeremy.tv on other episodes that you can find. I believe it actually talked about design team as part of the title. One of the things that was really interesting about this design team, I've actually been talking about this all around the state, Brooke, is that this design team brought their A game from the moment that we said go. It was very much a diverse team of people. And so it allowed us, when we needed to really reach out to the community and get them engaged, to really have that heavy lifting of, hey, we need your voice in the room, and make that an invitation. So I would say out of all the different ones that we've done, the design team for the summit has been probably the most diverse and the largest design team.
Yes.
Maybe Grand Island comes close to it. I would have to pull my cheat sheet with the numbers. But so Sherry, so how did you hear about the summit?
Well, since I work at CCC, they invite, and we are hosting it here, they invited employees and instructors and anybody who's been a part of some sustainability effort here at the college. So that is how I heard about it.
Excellent. And what was your expectation kind of coming in today?
Well, I had an open mind when I came in. I didn't necessarily know what to expect and where it would go, but I was pretty excited when I got here and saw such a large crowd of people from all different avenues and businesses and educational institutions here in Hastings.
What were so and we'll kind of just take it because we're moving into the summit, so both of you should feel free to weigh in at any time. But what were some of the highlights for each of you today from the conversations that you saw in the room, or some of the activities that we did?
Well, one of the highlights I found is that, like I say, people were very engaged. When Jeremy said, wander about the room, you didn't have people standing in a group in the middle of the room not engaging in the conversation. The people were very engaged, very asking questions, coming up with different ideas, and what have you. But I really saw a very engaged group. So
excellent. What were some of the highlights for you?
I was surprised to see so many different representations here. It was such a broad group, not just one type of group. It was everybody here, and it seemed like each station that you went around to, you did hear common themes, and that so many people have the same goal in mind, and they care about the community, they care about the health of the community, and they want to make it accessible for all people, not just a certain group of people. So as a newer member of Hastings, that really made me excited and hopeful for the future.
It was actually really neat to watch this group come together. We ended up with 9 different areas of planning. That was a little intimidating to see the 9 up on the wall. We were able to actually create 9 separate action plans and then take those actions and prioritize them with the vote at the end. And so we ended up with actions that were supported by a majority of the group, 9 different actions that can be worked on. Becky was actually telling me some of them she really feels is low-hanging fruit. So that's really exciting to me. Were there other aspects of just kind of looking at the process that we used, or other things that you might want to share with our viewers that would help them understand how this might be beneficial to their organization, or even how using a planning process like this might be helpful to what they're doing?
Well, I think that sometimes planning or creating something is intimidating to people if you're just one person or maybe a couple of people who have an idea or want to do something. It's really knowing where to start. I enjoyed the whole process today of, our tables. We were assigned tables, which was great. So we had a diverse group of people at our tables. We talked about who we were and why we were here and why we cared, and then went from there. What are some things that we would like to see? What are some of the challenges in our communities? What are some of our assets in our community? And just building on that, and then the whole process of walking around the room and people sharing their ideas, and I enjoyed the bees and the butterfly activity, just taking from one group and going to another and pollinating that area with the idea from somewhere else, that how it would be beneficial and their role. And so that was really, really helpful. And at the end of the day, we came together and we had a product and the vision for the future. And that was pretty exciting, doing that in one day.
The other thing I found with this project or this process is useful is it allows for people to really take ownership, and it doesn't, if you have a big project, may that be a requirement or just, an effort that you want to do as a community, it allows people to take ownership and not have one person do all of the work, forcing things upon one person or forcing things upon the person. It really allows them to take ownership and, oh, I want to get involved in this. I'm passionate about this. This is where I can get involved. So
it's actually one of those things where sometimes I forget because I get so in the minutia of trying to do the planning pieces. I think I actually may have told you this on Friday. I put the final agenda together, and it's just so exciting to know that like we're finally here at that piece. What I think, I want to be respectful of the time that by the way, we've been going since 7 this morning, folks. So these guys hanging in here today is amazing. So this coffee with Jeremy is going to be a little shorter. When we end for today, my question to each of you is there anything else that you want to share about your experience today, or anything that you feel our viewers, if they know, would be helpful to them in looking at this process or considering S&G as a way to get their planning needs met? So is there anything else that you would want to share with the viewers?
I would share that there was a lot of excitement in the room. Sometimes people get bored or sidetracked at any meeting, but this was not that type of meeting. As the day went on, it seemed like the excitement built as people realized that they were going to actually be able to implement their idea, and there were other people behind them that maybe knew the resources to get that started, and we may have not known about that resource because we don't interact with everybody every day in our community.
Right.
So just really bringing all of that together and getting people excited and putting the pieces into place.
Awesome. Okay.
the other thing that I like is that the process is very participant driven. So you create your own energy, you create your own plan, and there's no talking at you. It's talking amongst people. So.
Yeah, and Brooke, I appreciate you saying that, because I will even say, as the facilitator, now that we're done, one of the things that when I saw the 9 different areas, I was like, oh boy, should we pare those down? What's going to happen? And I wasn't sure, and we even had a little debate about it internally with the logistics team and just kind of looking at, do we pare it down? We made a decision, we're not going to pare it down. We're just going to let the community run with it and see where it goes. And there's never been a more opportune time to remind oneself that you have to trust the process. And you got to trust that it's going to work out, and it clearly did for you guys. So we're going to check back in with Becky sometime and have her on an upcoming Coffee with Jeremy. Either of you are also welcome to join us at any time and give us an update on what's happening over the next couple months as you begin the implementation process. Over the next couple weeks on Coffee with Jeremy, we're going to also check in with Bike DFW and the North Texas Cycling Project and see what's happening there. We might even also try to do a quick interview with Asakura Robinson, one of our corporate clients who just completed their strategic planning over the last year. And we did reschedule an appearance by the National Physical Activity Society Executive Director. So she's going to be on. And don't forget, viewers, we've got to come back to Mr. Spalding and have him give us an update on how he's doing with his elevator stair speeches for SG Media Group. So thank you to both of you for joining us today. Brooke, I totally did not remember to thank you at the end of the summit for all the leadership that you've provided. So we're going to do that in front of the entire world. And just a big recognition again to South Heartland District Health Department, to Mary Lanning Healthcare, CCC, who hosted today, Nebraska Department of Public Health and Human Services for their support, and just for all the great work that's happening here in Nebraska. So thank you both for coming on. And
thank you.
That concludes today's Coffee with Jeremy. So drink up, and we'll see you next week.